Hi everyone, it's Joe here from Lawn Solutions Australia and welcome to another episode of Turf Talk, where it's that time again. I'm joined by Nathan to go over a bunch of things today. Nath, how you going?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me again. Good to be here.
What's on the agenda?
So in this one, it's December, it's the end of the year. We've had a lot on this year, and we sort of just wanted to cover a bit of what's been on in the turf industry, what's been happening for Lawn Solutions Australia and turf varieties, products, a bit of everything. So we're going to go through a year in review and sign off for the year, I guess.
Cool. It's been a funny year. There's been a lot of new things come in, not just to Lawn Solutions Australia, but the turf industry in general. So it's going to be good to cover off some stuff. Some of the things you guys, may be aware about. Some of them you may not be aware about. So it's going to be good to take a bit of a deep dive into this to give you an overview of about not just what we do, but what goes on in the turf industry day to day. Where are we going to start?
The biggest thing for us as Lawn Solutions Australia is we specialise in turf varieties, turf research and development, introducing new varieties for the Australian market. So the big thing for us was bringing out Zoysia australis.
It's been a long time coming, Zoysia australis. So again, for those of you that haven't, jump back and check out our podcast that we did on the Lawn Solutions Australia research program, and you'll get a bit more of an overview into what goes into finding these new varieties. Also, we did an episode with Dr. Ambika Chandra from Texas A&M, who's a turfgrass breeder. So to give you a little bit more context there, but we brought 17 or 18 Zoysia grasses into Australia through quarantine from the US in 2017, I'm going to say.
I think that's about right, yeah.
And Australis basically won that trial. So since 17 now to 2023, we've got to the point where we've done our analysis and then propagated enough material to plant out on a commercial basis and then been able to harvest planting stock and send it around the country. So when was the release date, Australis?
We released Zoysia australis on Australia Day, or around Australia Day, I think it was.
Australia Day. So it's been in the market since then, predominantly in Queensland. They came online first because they had access to stock first, and obviously things grow quicker in Queensland, so you can get it harvest ready sooner. But there's also stock now in New South Wales, in the Sydney area, and also the south coast of New South Wales. And so far, it's been going really good. I think customers are enjoying a different texture compared to fine leaf grasses like Tiff Tuff and Sir Grange or Cooches and Zoysia Matrellas, and coarse leaf grasses, if you want to call soft leaf buffalo or coarse leaf grass. Australis sits in the middle. It's got a beautiful blue-green colour, and it's filling a nice void we had in the market texture-wise. And I think customers, Nath, you probably talk to more customers than what I do, but I think customers are catching on to it pretty well, and I think they're enjoying some successes with it.
Definitely. There's a lot of curiosity around Zoysias, and I think Zoysia australis in particular, the reason why we were looking for a grass that performs the way it does is we were looking for a Zoysia that wasn't like any other Zoysia or even other varieties on the market that could basically have the traits of a Zoysia grass but also grow and repair quite quickly, and was going to provide solutions that was a bit more, I guess, common practice or situational for Australian backyards. Because
that was probably the frustrating thing for lawn owners with Sir Grange or other Zoysia Matrellas is you get wonderful benefits out of slow-growing grasses. Obviously, you've got to mow it less, but everything takes longer to come back, where whilst Zoysia australis is still a Zoysia, it is a much more aggressive Zoysia. It comes back a lot quicker. It will need more mowing than what Sir Grange or other Matrellas will, but you get that repairability, you get the wearability. And just to give people a little bit more context with Zoysia, you hear Sir Grange being a Zoysia, you hear Australis being a Zoysia, and you think they're the same grass. The diversity in the Zoysia genus is more than any other turf grass on the market. So whilst they're both Zoysias, they're totally different looking, they've got totally different colour, totally different performing. And this is the reason, you've probably heard me say this before, but this is the reason the bulk of turf grass research and development and breeding goes into Zoysia grasses now, is because it is the most diverse turf genus out there. Zoysia is just the overarching genus, and then there's Matrella, Japonica, Macrantha, Tenuifolia, Pacifica. There's a bunch of ones underneath that. So with diversity, creates more choice, I guess, and more selections that they can make. But
in one of our recent podcasts with Dr. Ambika Chandra from Texas A&M, she goes into that in a lot more detail, a lot more scientific than what we can portray. We're good at what we do, and Ambica's amazing at what she does. And Zoysia's are providing her capacity, I guess, to really research and find varieties that are able to do a lot more different things that Zoysia's can provide. So it's really interesting, and Zoysia australis is doing really well, and it's good to see what's happening in the market.
If you want to get some australis and you're in Sydney, you can get it now. If you're in southeast Queensland or further up northern Queensland, you can get it now. Victoria, some will be coming online, I believe, probably next spring or just prior to winter. I think there's some in the ground now. We're just waiting for it to cover over. But where you'd probably put it if you're interested in it is a similar, probably a similar segment to softleaf buffaloes to where you'd put a Sir Walter. Low maintenance, easy to look after, backyard, front yard, that might have a bit of wear, bit of shade. We've seen some really good instances lately of it standing up to good levels of wear and good levels of shade. But like anything, you have to have a lawn care program behind it. These grasses you can't just put in and forget about. If you want to get the most out of them, you've got to put a little bit back into them, and Zoysia is no different to that. But it's an exciting new venture, and I think everyone's really enjoying it so far.
Another big thing, obviously, will stay in the turf variety or turf research and introduction of new varieties sort of vein of things is what we've got in the pipeline as far as studies go. This year we had buffalo grasses or St. Augustines from the American programs brought over into our program.
Same sort of thing as I briefly touched on the Zoysias before. Obviously, buffalo grass or softleaf buffalo grass or St. Augustines have been in the Australian market for a long time now, and they've been the dominant domestic cultivar for the last 20-odd years or whatever it's been. The main one of those, obviously, is Sir Walter or Sir Walter DNA certified softleaf buffalo. It's been the market leader. But there's been a bunch of different brands across the years that have all, performed pretty well. But buffalo is a very suited grass to the domestic market here. It's not a very suitable grass to sports turf or the commercial application because it doesn't have the rhizome or the wearability. But it's low maintenance. It's got great shade tolerance, and it's pretty easy to look after people. Hence the reason it's a strong domestic performer. But what we've done now is over the last sort of decade, we've been talking to obviously these US turf breeding organisations, and we're finally at the point now where they've got some awesome new strains of buffalo grass that are staying greener in winter, showing less disease, better shade tolerance, better wear tolerance, ticking all the boxes. And it took us a long time to get access to material that we saw was a lot better than what we currently have now. Because we got to remember too, these grasses like Sir Walter DNA certified are awesome turf varieties, and they will be for a long, long time. But they're sort of 2.5 decades old now, so it's silly not to look at what else is out there. So we've done this with buffalo grass and brought them in from Dr. Ambica Chandra's program out of Texas A&M, and we've had them here for almost or just over a year now. Out of quarantine for just over a year, and we're at the point where we're seeing some really good results from our research and from our data, and we've got a couple of standouts, which is pretty exciting. I know when you've got 18 grasses replicated 4 times, it's good to see some really, really green squares when the others aren't so green, and it's even better to see that those 4 green squares are the same grass because it really shows that the research you're doing is working. And I know we're in December now, and it's kind of weird showing people the plots at the moment because every grass looks great.
Everything looks good at the moment.
Everything looks awesome, and it's hard to pick one. But you come out here in July, August, or even early September, and you can really see the difference in winter colour. And come January, February, you can really see the difference in disease resistance with these buffalo grasses.
Do we have these buffaloes in Queensland and Victoria as well at the moment?
We do have. We've got them in regional Victoria, so where it gets really, really cold, like one of the coldest parts off, I don't want to say Australia, but regional Victoria anyway. And they've stood up through winter there, and we've got some really good winter colour or winter growth data. Obviously, we have to approach this from 2 angles when it comes to not just buffaloes, but any grass research is we've got to find a cultivar that's good for the consumer, easy to look after, looks great, but it also has to be viable to produce. So one of the things we're looking at in Victoria is winter vigour and winter growth, so farmers can form a crop efficiently all through the year, because we have issues now where you can have a paddock full of Sir Walter or whatever it may be that's beautiful and ready to harvest, and if you have a harsh winter, it can set it back and you won't see it till after Christmas. So there's a lot of issues on the production end. But anyway, we're at the pointy end of this, and we've narrowed our selection down pretty efficiently already, and the next stage will be to propagate that initial selections, because what I guess a lot of people don't understand, and Nath, you've seen this firsthand too, is we only get such a small amount of material out of quarantine, and it's a fickle process to nurture that material and then propagate it. So we got I don't know, it's like an 8-inch pot worth.
Yeah. And it's basically just a couple of runners. And you wonder how they even get it into Australia, and it survives by the time it gets to us through the quarantine process. So there are babies coming through, and we get pretty nervous about the whole process, but fortunately they come through. We get them in the ground. We're able to get them to grow, and then what we see from there is amazing. But it's a slow going process. We're pretty patient with it. It takes a number of years. So
what we kind of do next is, because when we analyse them here, we only have a set amount of area, so we analyse a couple of square metres of each. But once we select them, we have to take them onto a farm to harvest the trials, chemical trials, whatever else. So we then have to propagate from a couple of square metres. And if anyone's familiar with buffalo grass or a buffalo grass runner, if you pull a runner out of the ground now, you'll see little balls along the stolon. They're called nodes or internodes, and we pretty much, or someone has to cut them up and plant them individually into cell trays. So we're at the point now where we actually outsource that to a propagation company who obviously keep purity in mind, but also to propagate this material quickly. Then we have to get to the point where we need to plan it out on 500 square metres, 1,000 square metres, whatever it may be. And that involves a very tedious hands-on process where people literally have to get the plug out of the cell tray and put it in the ground manually. And we've both done this before.
20, 30 square metres can take a whole day. It's tedious work, and I'm glad I don't have to do any of that anymore.
We'll skip that one next time, I think, But that's where we're at the buffalo grass. So I think you'll see something coming out in the next 12 months about a potential new buffalo cultivar. Again, we've got a lot of due diligence to do between now and then, but it's exciting times ahead with these new strains all the same.
We've talked about a couple of the turf research development facilities and scientists over in the US and in other places across the world. But this year we were fortunate enough, we held the Lawn Solutions Australia Conference. It was a global turf conference this year because we were invited. Got the shirt on, Global Turf Conference. And it truly was. We had individuals from the UK, from Asia, from the US as well, all as invitees to us to come and speak at our conference, to speak to our national network of turf suppliers and other guests that were invited. And it was massive. It was probably the biggest conference I've ever been involved with Lawn Solutions Australia, and the sort of people that we had over here was truly incredible. Dr. Ambika Chandra was one of them. Dr. Christian Spring from the STRI in the UK came over as well. Who else did we have, Joe? There was
the UK Turf Master, Simon Hutton.
UK incredible guy, Simon Hutton, UK Turf Master. He oversees the turf production and installation works for a lot of the EPL grounds and Wembley and all those sort of things over there.
Brad Burgess from Southeast Asia.
Sports Turf Solutions, Brad Burgess in Southeast Asia. He specialises in zoysia grasses over there, and it's incredible his program that he's got running over there.
We've learned a lot from Brad over the years here with zoysia grass and golf. And Brandon Eubanks from Supersod.
Brandon Eubanks, he comes from Supersod, biggest turf production company probably in the world, I'd imagine.
Close to it, I'd imagine. Scale is scary.
It's ridiculous.
It was great having them all here, and again, if you want to learn more, I think we've done a podcast with all of them.
I think we got individual podcasts with all of them. So go back through our podcast, you'll be able to see individual interviews with each of them and their stories and what they're involved in. This is pretty incredible.
And whilst they're obviously each industry in each part of the world is so different in so many ways, there is a lot of similarities, and what you see in turf production in Australia now, all the new innovation you see can be attributed to the work the Lawn Solutions Group has probably done with these international people, because we do learn so much, not just when we bring them here, but we also get opportunities to go and see their facilities. I know we've seen Sports Turf Solutions in Vietnam and Thailand, and we've seen Supersod in Georgia in the US, and next year a group is heading over to check out Simon Hutton's operation in the UK as well and get them weasel their way onto a couple of stadiums, I think.
I'm pretty jealous of that one. Cool. I think what are they doing? They're going to Old Trafford, Wembley, Lords. They're doing it all.
Wimbledon.
The dream list, the bucket list.
Room in the suitcase. We'll work something out. It'll be right. But encourage you all to check out those podcasts, and even just check them out on their Facebook pages, their websites, their YouTube channels. Like I know Simon Hutton's business, Tiller's Turf, they always post about their projects that they got going on, and they were just ripping out Lords, the cricket ground, after the Ashes and after the UK cricket summer. And some of the work they do is incredible, and it's worth checking out if you're on the socials there.
Yeah, for sure. Our MC for the Lawn Solutions Global Turf Conference was Andrew Daddo. He actually has his own podcast. Shout out to Andrew. He interviewed Dr. Christian Spring, Simon Hutton. Yeah. He interviewed Simon Hutton as well. So, yeah, shout out to Andrew. Check out his podcast as well. He specialises in talking about golf. He's a golf nut, but obviously golf and turf go hand in hand. Were you on it? You weren't on it, were you?
I was.
You were?
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it.
Must have missed that one.
I did well that episode. Yeah. It was good. He puts obviously he's got an awesome history or resume as a presenter and a comic, Andrew Daddo, and he adds that spin into golf, and it's a really cool podcast. And yeah, check out my episode.
Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, appreciate it. Number one fan. What's next? I'm sick of you already. But anyway, move on.
So yeah, that was a big part of our year, the Global Turf Conference, and it wasn't just a 1 day, 2 day conference. We had obviously these delegates that came over. They came and visited a lot of our Lawn Solutions members right across the country, and we work with them and have partnerships with these individuals from their organisations, and we do a lot of work with them. And yeah, it was a great few weeks that we had with them while they were over here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Another big event that we had this year was the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show. We always have a certain involvement in that, whether it's from a sponsorship level, a stand, whatever it may be. But yeah, another big involvement with that this year.
Yeah, we've been going to MIFGS for, I want to say like 15 years now, I think, Lawn Solutions. Before that, the Sir Walter Group was involved with MIFGS. And I know Brent Redman, actually one of our bosses, told us when he first went down there 15 years ago, there was one of the 20 show gardens with natural turf on them. And this last MIFGS last year, which was the 25th anniversary, I think out of the 25 show gardens or whatever it was, I think 24 had natural turf on them somewhere. So it's been cool to see how natural turf has made its way into the high-end garden builds, which is cool to see. But also, I think these new turf varieties that have come out over the last few years, mainly Sir Grange and also Tiff Tough, have given people with a keen eye for design and building unique things something different to work with. And that was evident in this year's MIFGS Gardens. You would have seen it in Turf Talk, but also, again, a podcast on it with Charlie, is he used unmown Sir Grange zoysia in his garden, which won Best in Show at MIFGS this year, and it just adds a whole other element to turf grass in these gardens. You've only got such a small space to work with, and it's such a big job to get your build right, and to have unmown Sir Grange sitting at, I don't know, 200 mil, whatever it is, just looking outstanding against his black shipping container garden design. Listen to him talk about it. He'll describe it better than I ever will. But yeah. And Jason Hodges, also who's won Best in Show on numerous gold medals at MIFGS over the past 2 decades, used Tiff Tough and Sir Grange in his design. He did a similar sort of thing where he used unmown or longer Sir Grange to create a certain effect. And he did the Welcome Garden, which is the first garden you see when you walk in, Welcome Garden, and it looked unreal. And like I said, it's not just a matter of putting fescue or Sir Walter just to put green stuff on the ground now with these gardens. They're actually using turf as a feature, and it really shows people, even in the marketplace, you don't have to build a massive show garden to have a great feature like Sir Grange or Tiff Tough at different lengths, but you should check out what these guys are doing with it now. It's so cool to see, and I can't wait to see what they build next year.
Yeah,
again.
Definitely both two really good examples of how to utilise turf in a space and the versatility of the different varieties that are now available. So we did a bit of a walk around all of the show gardens, and we were able to spot Sir Walter, Sir Grange, Tiff Tough, and on every single garden, and used in different applications, different lengths, and it was pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, and I think it's not just the designers leading the way now in the current turf market. I think it's what they see the general public doing now that's making them do this too. I know we've mentioned this a few times now, but the online forums like for Lawn Fanatics and that sort of thing are showing what people are into at the moment, and that's people are into really, really looking after their lawns and cutting them short and mowing stripes in them and whatever else. That's actually kind of forcing the hand of these garden designers to incorporate beautifully manicured turf into their garden. So I think it's a bit of a two-way street there. That's very insightful of me, wasn't it? But I think that's the way it's going, and it's so cool to see at a massive show like MIFGS.
That's right. And I didn't forget this one. You did a speech at this year's MIFGS, was that right?
No, that was last year's.
Was
MIFGS.
it last year?
Last
oh,
year's, yeah.
terrible. Jeez.
Again, thanks for following
I swear
on.
you were on the stage. Was it Jason? Did Jason do a speech?
Jason did something this year. They went straight to the top this year.
Yeah, got knocked
keynote
off.
speaker. Yeah. But again, Nath, thanks for paying attention.
So on to the next thing. We'll just keep moving on. Lawn Solutions Australia, we're a national network of turf suppliers. We keep banging on about what we do and who we are. But I think it's an important side of things. It's big as what our day-to-day involves. And this year we brought on several new turf suppliers throughout the year and throughout Australia from different regions. And it's been really good to expand the network, expand supply, and make availability of some of these turf varieties where they may not have been available previously. So it's been pretty exciting.
Yeah, we always have a goal of trying to not make people travel too far to find a Lawn Solutions variety. So we think we filled a couple of voids that we had in the marketplace for Lawn Solutions varieties, and it's really good to see so many turf farms, come into our group. And it's not just existing turf farms that have joined the Lawn Solutions group and put their varieties in the ground. It's people coming into turf farming or turf production for the first time throughout Australia. So if you have seen a couple of Lawn Solutions logos or signs pop up in your local area, it's a new member, a new producer there. So I'd encourage you to go on and check them out. But we're always, whilst we're always trying to grow our network, we're obviously trying to make it viable for the current people that are still in our group. So we're not looking to throw, hundreds of new Lawn Solutions members around the country. These are strategically placed producers, again, to fill the goal of not having customers have to travel too far to find our varieties, which is cool.
To shore up supply, there's been some good turf sales, I guess, in the last few years and off the back of COVID. And one of the big issues you have at times is when people want turf and they can't get it, or there's an extremely long turnaround. And it's about making sure that, the turf's available to people and the varieties they're after are available to them in their area. And these grasses are designed to perform right across Australia. And that's why we do all these trials and programs involving them. So we want to make sure people can get them. If they give us a call and say, where can I get Tiff Tuff from? We're able to direct them to someone nearby. And sometimes those farms, they're not necessarily, just down the road sort of things. Turf farms, obviously, big operations. They need a lot of space to grow grass, so they're not going to be right in those metropolitan areas. They're a little bit more regional or out on the outer skirts. But yeah, there's quite a few new growers coming on board this year. There's some more in the pipeline for next year as well. So there's more Tiff Tuff, Sir Walter and Sir Grange out in the marketplace than ever before, and that's great to see.
And whilst they're located remotely, I think what a lot of people probably don't totally understand is turf delivery services are unreal. Whilst they come into metro areas every single day, they've got beautiful new, not always new, but beautiful trucks with forklifts on the back, and they can drop your turf pretty much anywhere. So there's gone all the days where it gets dumped on the curbside and you've got to go lug it in with a wheelbarrow. These all-terrain forklifts they've got now, they can go down driveways, alleyways, they can get into your backyard, they can lift it up above retaining walls, they can do so many wonderful things. But if you're not sure if there's a Lawn Solutions member near you, you can always jump on our website, pop in your postcode in the Turf Suppliers tab, and they will all come up.
So as far as milestones go this year, we cracked, I think it was over 5 million square metres of Tiff Tuff sold in Australia earlier this year. And I think we've just recently hit another milestone with Tiff Tuff, which is 7 million square metres. So consumers are definitely embracing Tiff Tuff. It's a great product, and I think it's going to be really important in the coming years. Yeah,
it's obviously we're pretty proud of that as a group to get Tiff Tuff sales up to a mark like that. I think it was like if you laid it and went all around the coast of Australia, was that right?
I think it was something like that.
No, that was the Sir Walter one. It was Sydney to Perth. Anyway, it was something cool like that. But it's a. Didn't you come up with that thing?
I'm not sure.
Anyway, it's a testament to the product. It really is a good grass, and it's providing so many wonderful solutions for so many people. And yeah, to hit milestones is always cool. But I think we're obviously more proud of the fact that we've brought a sustainable product to the marketplace, both as a low fertility user and also as a low water user. And just quickly on this, just with low fertility and low irrigation, one thing we've found with Tiff Tuff, for those that might have it in a backyard situation, and we're always learning about this grass, and I think we're at the point now where you have to treat Tiff Tuff as lean as you possibly can to get the most out of it. And we're obviously learning more about this every season, but I've got a Tiff Tough lawn. I like to think I've got a really good Tiff Tough lawn, but I haven't fertilised it in almost 2 years now. Not a single bit of fertiliser. And I think obviously not telling people to do that, everyone's situation is different, but if you're unsure what to do with Tiff Tough, and obviously there's a segue here, sorry. If you're unsure what to do with Tiff Tough or you're having issues with it, scale it right back. That is my best advice I can give to anybody, is instead of saying fertilise 3 times a year, don't fertilise at all. Start with that and work your way up if you think you need it. Don't start a lot and pull your way back. If you're a new Tiff Tough lawn or existing Tiff Tough lawn, next to no fertility is a really good thing. Or I should say next to no nitrogen, I should probably say. Even though most fertilisers, the bulk of them is nitrogen. But keep it low, keep it to an absolute minimum. And the same with irrigation. Irrigate Tiff Tough when it looks like it needs it. You don't have to pour water onto this grass every single day to keep it looking good. And I think that leads on to my next point with Tiff Tough is we're coming into what all reports say is going to be a pretty hot and dry summer, an El Nino. El Nino just doesn't seem to settle. It goes from one to the other. But having a drought-tolerant cultivar, like Tiff Tough, is going to be as important as ever coming to this period. So if you are thinking of returfing with a Lawn Solutions variety or not, I think Tiff Tough should be front of mind because it's going to save you a lot of water. But not only that, it's a great looking grass. It's going to save you on all sorts of inputs. It's going to keep nice colour during winter, and it's a product that you can really manicure and get down nice and low and have it looking good. So I think it's going to be something to consider moving forward for sure.
Yeah. And that's what it was bred for. It was bred to be low input. It was bred for it to be drought tolerant. It was chosen out of the turf trial programs for that. It was the best performer as far as drought tolerance goes and low input. So it's just important, once we put it on the ground, that we understand that and we treat it a bit different to what's come before it, because it is superior when it comes to those traits, and it doesn't need a heap of water, doesn't need a heap of fertilizer or nitrogen application. So if you do that, it's not going to perform as well as it can, and if you just less is more with it, which is awesome, and that's what's going to be really important, especially as we have really hot, dry conditions potentially over the next couple of years.
Yep, absolutely, couldn't agree more.
We've also brought out some lawn care products. It's not our primary thing that we do, but we do have a lawn care product range, the Lawn Solutions product range, and we've brought out a couple of products this year. Iron Guard, I think, was the first one we brought out earlier this year, a liquid product that was sort of missing, I guess, from our product range.
Yep. So Iron Guard, it's become more prominent with this new wave of people cutting their lawns low and keeping them manicured. The shorter you keep a lawn, the more you've probably got to put into it to keep it looking good, not just mowing but also fertility in that wise. And I think iron is a great way to boost natural colour in all lawns, but particularly in shortcut lawns. And the good thing about iron is it sparks it up like overnight. Like, it doesn't take long at all. So I think Iron Guard Plus is a great way to spark your lawn up quickly overnight, and it can be used in conjunction with other fertilisers, because we've got a couple other liquids that we've brought out or brought into a hose-on
We've
version.
expanded on Exceed liquid fertiliser and Lawn Kelper, both now available as hose-on products. Kelper being a predominantly seaweed or kelp-based product, soil conditioner, soil health, all of plant health. Exceed liquid foliar fertiliser, upfront boost leaf growth for that one, and Iron Guard, as you said, so more about colour, seasonal transition, a bit more of plant health there as well. So it's not just, I guess, for the fanatics who want a bit more colour, it's also for individuals who want to see their lawn go in and out of seasonal change a bit more smoothly, a bit more plant health. It's got fulvic acid in it as well, so it's an all-round product, not just a flush of iron. It's got a few other things in there as well to make sure that it basically gives your lawn's health a boost when it really needs it seasonally.
And the great thing about having a range of liquids like this is you can use them in conjunction with each other, and you can put yourself on a liquid fertility program or a foliar fertiliser program. And the thing with foliars is they give your lawn a hit quicker than what a granular fertiliser would, obviously, because they're sucked straight in by the leaf. You do need to use them more frequently, but again, we're at the point now where I think you're either a granular person or you're either a foliar person, and we've got a great range of foliars to suit the needs of someone who enjoys applying a foliar fertiliser to their lawn now, which is really cool. You should check them out.
So I guess it's not just about Lawn Solutions and what the year's involved. Turf industry has had a lot going on, and not just for production, but also for sports turf, and curators have had a pretty big year with the Women's World Cup which was on earlier this year.
Yeah, it was an incredible event, the Women's World Cup in Australia, and the Aussies did so good. Just to obviously fell a little bit short in the end, but it really galvanised the nation, I guess. And there were so many people watching it on TV and around the world. And what that does is that straight away it puts the grass under a microscope. And for those that aren't aware, is FIFA requirements, or I guess soccer or football requirements in general for turf, are so much more refined than what they are for probably other sports. The grass has got to be cut shorter. It's got to be as smooth as possible for the ball roll. But when you're put under the microscope of a huge tournament like the Women's World Cup, and you're a curator at these stadiums, you got to be on your game. And I think for anyone who watched the World Cup, regardless of what stadium it was at, I think it was commonly said on TV how good these pitches actually look. And it's a testament to all the sports turf curators out there, and it's a testament for a couple of reasons. It's because if you take a surface like, I don't know, a Premier League pitch or something like that, obviously they've got pretty handsome budgets, but it's also used just for that purpose. And our stadiums that we use for the Women's World Cup, their general purpose, they're multi-purpose facilities. Like, they're having to have a league or a union game on and having to take that off and then put it straight into football. So it was
league,
pretty
union,
cool to see.
Soccer, yeah.
All in the 1 week.
Yeah,
sometimes. So
they do a great job, and shout out to them. All the fields looked amazing for the tournament and for other big events this year. So we recently caught up with Matthew Oliver, groundsman at Suncorp Stadium, and obviously they hosted games there as well, and he had it looking phenomenal. And there's a new article out in the latest edition of Turf Talk magazine, probably a good segue onto Turf Talk. Just dropped December edition of Turf Talk. Some great stories in there that we cover the Women's World Cup. We touch on, we caught up with Matthew Oliver. There's a bit of information about Primo Zoysia, Tiff Tough, lots of different projects that occurred throughout the year. But check it out. If you don't get a hard copy, we've got an email database as well, so reach out to us and we can make sure you can get a hold of a copy.
We spoke about the UK Turf Master, Simon Hutton from Tiller's Turf. There's something on him in there too.
Simon's in there as well, so if you want to understand Simon's story, which is quite incredible, he's a massive overachiever.
The drive-by on Simon.
No, that's a massive compliment to Simon. His story's pretty incredible, so that's in there as well. It's a great read.
Listens to this. I really, really do.
So that brings 2023 to basically a close, Joe. What's in store for 2024?
Well, I guess it's a continuation from a few of the things we spoke about at the top of this podcast, being Australis and also these new buffalo grasses. I think 2024 is going to be a massive year for us with buffalo grasses because, again, we're getting to the pointy end of bringing, hopefully, a new and much improved buffalo cultivar to the market, and I think 2024 may be the year for that if we can get our ducks in a row quick enough. There's a lot involved in it, but also more stock on the ground for Australis, so customers will have more access to it. It's pretty restricted at the moment, so our producers are getting there when it comes to Australis. We're going to Mifkis again. We're going to have a lawn solutions garden at Mifkis. So if you are thinking of going to the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show, which starts on the 20th of March, I think it is next year, come and see us. Come and say g'day. We're all going to be down there, and we're going to have our turf varieties on display there, and you can see them firsthand: Australis, Sir Grange, Tiff Tough, Sir Walter DNA. But Mifkis in general is just such a great thing to see. There's like 120,000 people go over 5 days, whether it's turf, whether it's plants, whether it's succulents, whether it's little ornamental gardens you want to do. Mifkis has everything. Obviously, it's in Melbourne. It's at Carlton Gardens, so you have to get in early. I think it's a similar time to the F1 down there.
Usually is, whether it's a week before or after. So
you got to be a little bit careful unless you want to stay in Shepparton or somewhere and commute down.
Great opportunity to stay down there for both events, I think.
Yeah, we should go to the F1.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay. And also we touched on before that next year there's a group of Aussie turf farmers heading over to the UK, and the purpose of these visits is to expand knowledge, get access to technology and innovation that we otherwise would not get access to. And it's a big group going over there, and I'm sure the UK turf industry is ready for 60 Aussies to show up at their turf farm like the US have had to deal with over the last decade or so. But the reason we do this is to basically improve the products and the service to the end user. We go and we get new ideas, and we get access to new products, and we build relationships that ultimately help the entire industry. So that's going to be pretty fun in 2024. Otherwise, it's going to be another big year, I think. I think obviously we've got some troubles, but some probably upcoming issues with climate. So we actually just recently touched on our summer lawn care podcast we did a few weeks ago now. A couple of things you can do to mitigate the effects of drought or El Nino on your lawn. So please do, if you haven't already, check that out, because climate-wise, it might be a little bit tricky over the next 12 months or so into 2024. So the good thing is, through all the work that we do, we've got some wonderful products, both turf products and also lawn care products, to help limit the effect that drought will have on your lawn. But otherwise...
So that sees us out for 2023. We wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all those things. We'll be back in January with all new content. We're going to take a little break, I think.
What was everyone?
As we all do. We'll be back in 2024 with some great new guests and content for the podcast. So, yeah.
And if there's anyone that you'd like to hear from in particular, or that's within the industry and you think they'd be great on our podcast, please flick us a message. You can find us a bunch of different ways on our websites or in our social channels, or leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. And we'll do our best to get them on. If you suggest them and you have a lead as well, that can also help. So please reach out. But we're always looking for new people to jump on. So keep that in the back of your mind too. But anyway, that's it from us. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next year.
Thanks, everyone.